Currently, out of the 105 miles of steam piping, there's almost 2,000 buildings that utilize steam. The largest 300 buildings are all over 500,000 square feet.
Had it not been for the steam system, the postcard skyline that you see of Manhattan would be totally different. You'll be looking at every one of these high-risers with some type of chimney coming out of it.
When you go to a restaurant, the dishwasher that cleans the dishes, it's powered by New York City steam. When you go to a hospital, the air is humidified with district steam.
Steam allows us to very closely moderate the relative humidity in the gallery, both for the long-term preservation of our own collection and for the preservation of works that are entrusted to us on loan.
We're doing a few of our cheese-making steps. When we actually have our curd, we're going to heat that up to about 100 degrees, and so we'll use the steam to send it through jackets and circulate through our vats right here and heat up the product.
One of the uniqueness about New York's steam system is that it's the largest in the world. If you took the next 9 steam systems and added them together, New York steam system is still the largest.
We have a pretty active complex here. We produce steam and electric to, I'd say, 55% of all steam in Manhattan, and it's all through that technology. You have these big boilers, heat up the steam, and then that steam gets distributed outside of the plant with these big, big pipes, and then it traverses out of the plant and down underneath the streets of Manhattan.
All right, so we'll give a quick tour of what the steam lines do. So in here now, it's about 90 degrees, it's about 90% humidity. This is a typical steam room. We got steam flowing over here. It's messy business. This is where Con Ed comes in. It comes in over here, and it comes across all these meters. These are the Con Ed steam meters, and it comes in and feeds this header over here, so all the steam for the entire facility gets brought into this header and fed out to all the different places.
That steam has a lot of energy. And it goes in infrastructure and it rises up through the building. And then it gets distributed to individual rooms throughout the building for heating, for cooling, and air conditioning.
So instead of driving a motor on an air conditioner with electricity, you could use steam. So steam actually offsets a lot of the electric demands in the summer by providing cooling power to these buildings.
New York City's first steam system was built by Wallace Andrews. In 1881, the plant opened up, and within 4 years, they had over 350 customers in place in Lower Manhattan, which was incredibly successful. But then after the blizzard of 1888, which essentially destroyed all the above-ground wiring, they finally agreed to an underground system.
As they laid the electricity cables, they laid the steam pipe down, and they essentially built New York City around electricity and steam coming into all the large commercial and residential buildings, starting in Lower Manhattan, and then as Midtown was built in the early part of the 20th century, they built steam and electricity coming into the basement of each of the buildings.
The New York City steam system, by the 1920s and 30s, fed 2,500 locations and reached over 100,000 commercial and residential buildings.
We really applied a lot of really neat sciences to the future of steam now compared to in the past. In the past, it wasn't as efficient as it is now. Right now, we monitor a ton of parameters that can create any water hammers in that steam.
My wife and I were in our apartment, which was on the 3rd floor of 32 Gramercy Park South. And the building started to vibrate. There was an incredibly loud roaring noise. And then somebody figured it out. The steam pipe that had been worked on in front of the building had exploded.
What happens when steam hits cold water is that it collapses at an incredibly high rate and creates this hydraulic shock called water hammer. And that's the force that blew apart the line and that it sent asbestos and created the incident down at Gramercy.
I came through Grand Central Station. As I looked south, I heard this huge noise and saw all sorts of chaos.
So 2007 was again an anomaly. Both these incidents are unique over the last 100+ years. They've changed pretty much every aspect that had any sort of contributing factor to that.
Steam is throughout the city, and it's used for just a tremendous amount of reasons. N.Y.U has the largest privately owned cogen facility in Manhattan right now. The first year savings was around $5 million, so there was an immediate savings by producing our own power. The environmental benefit, because the plant is much more efficient and much greener, were tremendous as well, over 30% reduction in emissions. For sustainability and environmental reasons, and also resiliency reasons, having on-site smaller cogeneration plants around the city makes us a greener city, it makes us a more resilient city.
We're using engineering to make a more comfortable life for people in our society.
If we pretend that we're in some bizarro parallel universe and the New York City steam system was never built, it would be a very different city than it is right now.